Yo, welcome to the in-depth segment of bike fitting. Again with Paul Hoover here at Conti's in Bethesda. Paul's going to take you through an in-depth version of bike fitting with yours truly, Carmen of Ambitious Athletics.
Cool. So the first thing I like to start off with every time is an in-depth rider interview to determine goals, to determine why we're actually fitting this bike, what we're moving toward. So we'll just go ahead and move right into it. I want you to tell me a little bit about what your riding looks like every week in terms of mileage, intensity, terrain. Clearly we have a road bike, so it's going to be more on road.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I ride 20 to 80 miles a week. It all depends, with the schedule.
Okay, and how is that typically broken up? Is that commuting miles or are those actual training miles?
50-50.
Okay, 50-50.
I would say more commuting though.
Okay, great. How long is an average commute for you?
Half an hour.
Okay, so you're on your bike for between probably a half an hour to an hour segments at a time.
I'd say half an hour to 2 hours. I'll go out and crank like 50 miles out one day.
Great. Okay, so there is typically a longer ride incorporated in there?
Right.
Okay, great. So what we know about Carmen is he goes out and rides his bike for, shorter to moderate distances. So we're not going to have to worry about setting him up for a century ride or anything like that. Any races in your future?
Half Ironman coming up in September.
Great. Which one are you doing?
Savage Man.
Okay, so it's hilly, correct?
Very hilly.
So we want to make sure he can climb on his bike. So aerodynamics aren't necessarily going to be his best friend. We want to make sure that he has a lot of low-end power on his bike. Okay, so sounds good. Tell me a little bit about what you're expecting to do in this race. Are you expecting to win, or are you expecting to beat a PR?
I would definitely like to at least get much better than I did in my last half Iron, which was last year. My bike was a little bit longer than I expected it to be, so I'd like to cut time there, and I can make up time, elsewhere in the run as well.
And with a multi-sport athlete like Carmen too, it's important to go into his other training to talk about maybe his running. Tell me about your running off the bike. How do you feel, for example, when you go into T2 and you have to run after you've ridden on your bike?
Legs feel actually really good.
Good.
Last year whenever I did it, it wasn't whenever you had set me up for the bike or anything like that, so I imagine it'll be a little bit different this year. But legs felt fresh coming off the bike.
Okay, great. Good to know. So now we have a pretty good grip on his riding style. We know what he's moving toward, we know how he rides. Now I want to sort of move into any sort of physical concerns we're going to talk about. So typically I like to start from the top down with physical concerns. This includes current, past, all the way from now to when I was 2, I broke my toe chasing my sister around the yard.
Right on.
Something like that.
Okay.
So neck, how's your neck doing?
A little bit more of a straight neck than a curved neck.
Okay. Any neck pain right now when you ride?
No, I guess I kind of do stretch it out a little bit when I'm riding, just from being here too long. So,
okay, how long is typically too long? Do you feel that 10 minutes into a ride or 2 hours into a ride?
Probably 2 hours into a ride.
Okay, so it's a relatively long distance.
Yeah, I know. Going further into that, and I guess more down the spinal column. I did a century ride last month. In the back, I feel like I almost need like a foam roller, like halfway through.
Okay.
And I feel like the fascia is just.
So it's more muscular, not necessarily in the center.
Yeah, I feel, yeah.
Okay, it doesn't radiate down your legs or anything like that? Okay, good. Shoulder pain, anything like that going on?
Partially torn labrum in the right shoulder.
Okay, never repaired?
No.
Okay, good.
Self-rehab.
Self-rehab. That's okay.
It feels great.
Okay. Full range of motion in that arm?
Yes.
Okay, and that's something we'll look further into too in the physical reassessment. Any pain or numbness in the hands, down the arm? Nothing like that? Okay. How do your hands feel on the bike in general?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
No numbness or pain?
No.
Okay, good. Lower back pain, anything like that going on?
No. Just thoracic area.
Okay, good. Hips?
All good now.
Those doing good?
Yeah.
All right, good. How about your knees?
Feel great.
You feel great? Yeah. Any previous ankle injuries or anything like that?
A couple sprained ankles.
Okay. Anything that haunts you to this day?
No.
Okay. No fully torn ligaments, surgical repair, anything like that?
No.
Okay, good. Numbness, pain in the feet when you ride?
I do kind of get some numbness.
Okay, some numbness. How long does that take before that kicks in?
Probably 4 hours, 3 hours.
Okay, so a pretty good distance into the ride.
Yeah.
Does the numbness ever move into pain, or does the pain ever move into numbness at any point when you're riding? Do you feel pain in that foot?
No.
Okay, no. Is it typically centered around the big toe, or does it move across all the toes?
more in the big toe.
Okay, more in the big toe. Great. Any heel pain or Achilles tendon pain?
Zero.
Nothing like that? Any arch pain?
No.
Okay. When you run, Carmen, do you run with a motion-controlled shoe or is it a neutral shoe?
Neutral.
Neutral.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to think about that.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That's for me to worry about. Any pain in the legs when you run?
I've been having some knee issues lately.
Okay, tell me about that. What's going on?
Just little patella issues.
Okay. Increase in mileage recently?
No, I've been staying right around like 3 miles just right now.
Okay.
But I think it's just my lack of training right now. Just going to the triathlon.
Does that bother you on the bike at all?
No.
Okay, good. So now we have a pretty good grip on any sort of physical concerns we're dealing with. What we need to look at on the bike. So what we're going to do is go ahead and move on into the physical pre-assessment. So after we establish sort of a pre-fit rider interview, we want to take a look at a couple things. With Carmen, he indicated to me that he has a little bit of shoulder pain. He used to have a little bit of knee pain going on. He has that numbness in both of his big toes. So, you know, regardless of what he's feeling, we want to kind of take a look at him from the bottom up. So the first thing I'd like to take a look at is foot structure. Okay? So what I'm going to have you actually do is exactly just stand comfortably. Without looking down, I'm going to have you go ahead and give me 3 hops. Great. What we just did is establish what's called a base of power. Okay? Basically, his feet, knees, hips will land naturally where they want to apply the most force downward. And if I look at that, come on over here, we can take a look at where his feet rest. Okay? So that's going to be important when we're setting up cleats and everything, okay, on his clip-in shoes. So go ahead and have a seat for me. And I want to make sure that that's mimicked when he sits down, okay, because we want to take a look at Carmen both gravity-assisted and gravity-unassisted, okay? And taking a look at where his feet rest in relation to his knees, we can see that, okay? And I have a pretty good idea of where I'm going to set his cleats up. So go ahead and stand up for me again, Carmen. The next thing I want to take a look at is how his arches, ankles, knees, and hips interact with one another under load, so under that gravity-assisted mode. So go ahead and balance for me if you can on your right foot. Okay. What I want to take a look at is whether or not his arch is collapsing, okay, under load. So go ahead, both feet on the ground. And now balance on your left foot for me. Okay, right foot down. And what I see with Carmen is more of a challenge of balancing on the left foot. Okay? So this is going to dictate to me whether or not we need to introduce an orthotic, okay, or support to the shoe. So what you do is come around here to the side of the table for me. And just go ahead, kneel down on the table with your feet facing me. Great. And I'm taking a look at his forefoot, okay, his arch and his heel. And I want to make sure that the angulation of his forefoot, okay, whether it's outward, neutral, or inward in relation to his heel, is supported in this cycling shoe. Because the last thing we want is for Carmen's knee to dive inward, okay? So go ahead and stand up for me. Okay, great. Next thing I want to take a look at is the flexibility of his lower back and his shoulders. So I want to make sure we rule out any sort of lower back or upper back inflexibility. And I want to get an idea too of what your back looks like when you're bent over, okay, so we can mimic that on the bike. Okay, so what I want you to do is just keeping your knees relatively straight. You don't have to lock them. Just go ahead, bend over, unstack each vertebrae, and let your upper body relax down until you feel gentle tension. Okay, back up. Good. So what we see with Carmen is a relatively high degree of flexibility with a relatively neutral spine too. If any of you pay attention to the Tour de France, we all see Lance Armstrong. When he's bent over on his bike, he has a pronounced hump on his upper back, okay? That's most likely because he naturally looks like that when he bends over, okay? So we want to make sure that Carmen's position naturally is mimicked on the bike, okay?